Commercials are the cornerstone of the free market economy.
And they give you time to go to the bathroom when you're watching TV.
Oh, that's why nobody watches public television.
You come up with an idea for your assignment yet?
Homework? You got homework on the first day?
Boy, his teacher must be a real battle axe.
I am having each student make a commercial for a laundry detergent.
Yeah, and I got a great idea. Let me tell you, nobody's going to the bathroom during my commercial.
Well, let's hear it. I'll give you some pointers.
Oh, no, thanks, Angela. I want it to be a surprise.
Oh, Tony, there's more to making a good commercial than you might think. I just want to help you.
Well, tell you the truth, Angela, you already have. You're my inspiration. And I love the way you care about your students. Did I tell you guys what kind of great teacher she is?
Yes!
Hello. Welcome back to
A-O-O-A.
the Who's the Boss podcast.
That was actually pretty amazing.
Yeah. I just had the clip on the timeline, and I ran into it, so it worked. I might have to tighten it up a little bit, but...
I don't know. That was
pretty good, right?
Yeah, that
Thanks.
was nice.
So...
It's been a while since we've had a good Tony.
That's a really good one, too.
Considering that's the name of the freaking podcast.
Right. Okay, and so...
Oh.
I just want to say, we did name the podcast correctly. And I cheated.
Oh, thank God.
And when you guys were out of town last weekend and I was home all by myself, I was cleaning the house and I had Who's the Boss just running on the TV in the background in the living room. So I got to an episode, I think it's season 3, where Samantha's working at...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Maybe not.
It's fine. Where Samantha's working at like a diner. And these guys are picking on her dad. And she says, if you're going to make fun of him, get it right. It's A-O-O-A.
Oh, that's awesome. So, that'll be the soundbite for that episode.
So we are vindicated.
I remember that episode. I think we watched that recently, like before we started the podcast.
It's the one where he has the fake sideburns on? Yeah, we watched that. Okay, so we're right. Yay. So we don't have any Who's the Boss news, but... There was a new interview with Tony Danza. He was a part of a fundraiser for the Atlas Foundation.
All right.
It is called the Dr. Theodore Atlas Foundation, and it is an organization that raises money for kids, basically to provide financial and emotional support for kids who don't have it, and it was founded by a boxer. So the boxer's name is Teddy Atlas. Now, Tony Danza, it appears, has done this benefit dinner for them every year, but because we're in COVID, they couldn't do the benefit dinner, so instead they did a virtual event. And the virtual event's on YouTube, and so they did an interview with him. But what I noticed about, he didn't talk about Who's the Boss at all. He talked about boxing and kids, because that's what it's about. But,
right. By the way, Who's the Boss is coming back.
But his hair is grown out considerably. Now, we could say that's because of COVID, but I saw another interview with him that was a few months into COVID, and he was still wearing his hair pretty short. So I was wondering, could he be growing his hair out? Because he had really short hair, and I don't think Tony Micelli would have the short hair that Tony Danza was sporting. So I was wondering if he could be growing his hair out so that they could cut it into more of a Tony Micelli-like haircut if needed.
I don't know. Who knows what Tony Micelli's hair would look like these days? Tony Micelli.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I think it would probably still look a little longer. Like he had
That's
almost
true. It
like
was
a crew
always
cut.
a little.
Tony Danza was wearing like a crew cut.
That's true.
Yeah, and there's one like in one of the later seasons, Tony Danza had to cut his hair very short for a part, and then he had to go right back to playing Tony Micelli. And they made a big joke about his hair and how he got the worst haircut of his life.
Oh, really?
So I really think that Tony Micelli would probably wear his hair a little longer than Tony Danza had it.
Okay.
So you never know. Maybe he's just trying to make sure he has enough hair.
Yeah.
But he still has a full head of hair.
Well, that's good. Good for him.
Full. It's all gray, but he looked good. So tonight we're going to do Season 2, Episode 14. The title is Educating Tony. It first aired January 14th, 1986. And the TV Guide summary... Oh, crap.
What happened?
I'm Tori.
Oh, and I'm Kevin.
We didn't say that,
in case
right?
it's your first time listening. No, you know what it was? I think because of the intro with the AOA.
Right.
We
got so
threw us
thrown off. We were
Yeah,
so
I know.
excited about that AOA.
I know. It doesn't take much around here.
And if this is your first time listening,
We normally introduce ourselves.
Yeah, well, we're here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss.
Oh, yeah, that too.
And I would tell you to go back and start at the pilot, but our first
Pilot's awful.
5 we were really bad in the beginning, and I think we've gotten better now. So maybe if you want to start from the beginning, start from like the 4th or 5th.
We debated
episode of this
going back to
podcast.
redoing the pilot.
I know, and actually a few people wrote in and said don't do it because it's better to see our growth than to go back and try to change it. I get it.
Nice.
I mean, who are we doing this for? Nobody. I mean, we're doing it for you guys, but
have like 180 followers on.
We do. And I would say a good 85% of those are real people and not
awesome.
fake
Not bots.
followers. Not just like the fake Instagram followers.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, who are we? It doesn't matter. So yeah, we were really bad in the beginning, but I think we're a bit better now. Okay, so speaking of bit better, and then I just had to redo the intro because we forgot to say our names. The TV Guide summary says Tony takes an adult education class that Angela's teaching and gets an F on his first assignment. This episode was written by Michael Porez. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
And I think when I looked, let me check because pretty sure this is... Oh, okay. So he wrote Keeping Up with the Marcies and he wrote Educating Tony. And then this will be his last episode of Who's the Boss that he wrote. But our kids would be excited to know that he wrote this episode because he writes Raven's Home.
Oh, wow. That's
which they
interesting.
love. Yeah. He wrote on That's So Raven.
He's still writing.
Hannah Montana.
Oh, that's So Raven and Raven's Home.
Yeah. So yes, they'd be very
interesting.
excited to know that. Oh, now where are my notes? Okay, here I am. So when this episode opens, we find out that Angela is going to be teaching a night class at one of the local colleges on advertising.
And she's very excited about it. She's
She
into
is,
it.
yes. She's telling Tony all the different things she's going to tell them. She's going to teach how important advertising is, the role that it plays in the economy. And then she's going to finish it up with the exciting life of an ad executive.
I like that he's feeding her ego, too. He's just like, it's so exciting.
He is so excited for her, yes. And Mona, meanwhile, is sleeping.
Sleep in a chair.
Yeah. But Tony tells her that she's going to be such a great teacher. She's going to be even better than Sister Blandina.
Oh, like this just in.
So, yeah, when he said that, I assumed that he was just calling out the name of a nun at his school when he was a kid.
No, I immediately went to work.
I saw you typing.
Yeah,
So what did you find
like,
out?
Sister Blandina's got to be a real person.
Okay.
And she is. Now, I guess it's the same. I don't know. You be the judge. According to the Wikipedia, Sister Blandina is Blandina Segal, more commonly known as Sister Blandina. And she was born May 23rd, 1850, and lived until 23rd of February, 1941. She was an Italian-born American sister of Charity of Cincinnati and a missionary who became widely known through her service on the American frontier in the late 19th century. Basically, I mean, she did missionary work. But but one really interesting thing is, I know you always worry that I'm just going to go on and on. But she, during her missionary work, she met, among others, Billy the Kid and the leaders of the Native American tribes of the Apache and the Comanche. Did I say that right?
I have no idea.
Okay, good, because I don't know. She served as an educator, social worker in Ohio. But, I mean, basically she was a sister, so, I mean, who else could he be talking about? Sister Blandina.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like she's a teacher. But
well, she was a social worker.
Yeah, I guess
and then
just
she was a nun, I guess. Or
yeah, I guess she was just known as like a great form of guidance.
Maybe somewhere
for
in
people.
here it says that she eventually becomes a teacher. But the two interesting things is the fact that she met Billy the Kid. I thought that was fascinating. Yeah, that is. And she was born in Italy, Genoa, Italy. Is that
Genoa?
Genoa.
I don't know.
And she
Nano notes.
I know. Nana's gonna let us know. And she died in Cincinnati, Ohio. So at some point between 1850 and 1941, she made it to America and to Cincinnati.
Right.
And the other thing is, and then I'm all done with Sister Blandina, is she lived to be 91 years old, which is really crazy that she died in 1941 at the age of 91.
Yeah. Good constitution.
So I hope
there.
that's who he's talking about, because I just spent like 4 minutes on it. And I'm really sorry about that, but I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, so he has to be talking about her, unless he also had a teacher at his
Well, maybe
school.
like people knew who Sister Blandina was.
Yeah,
but otherwise it
probably.
makes no sense. He just says that.
Right. No, it has to be. And she probably was just known as like a form of guidance or something for people. And so that's why he's saying that.
And the Billy the Kid part was interesting. I
Yeah,
thought.
that is interesting. So Tony is super excited for Angela to be doing this class. Mona, not so much. They wake her up on the couch, on the
Right.
chair.
And she's like, what? Huh?
So the kids come in and they've picked up the mail, which includes the class catalog for the college. And they show her name in it that says that she's going to be teaching the class. So now, one thing I notice here is that the name of the college is Southport University.
Oh, okay. Is
So
that real?
I don't think so. I probably should have looked that up. But
I thought maybe you did, and I was like...
no, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I was thinking that Mona had gone to Ridgemont College, which is still possible because or Ridgemont University, because that's where Tony and Samantha end up going. And I don't think we're ever going to hear of this Southport University again. So I guess there could be two universities close enough to their house to drive to, like kind of how... I mean, here, I guess you could have classes at like CSUN or Pierce College, or if it's a little more of a trek, UCLA or USC. But so I don't know that they had maybe come up with Ridgemont yet. So Southport is the college that they're talking about in this episode.
Yeah, I always think of Ridgemont. I think of Ridgemont High. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But the closest, I just looked up, the closest Southport College is in the United Kingdom, so I'm going to guess they're not.
Okay, yeah, so then they just made it up. And so Samantha asks Angela, like, why do you think that they picked you for this? And she says, I don't know. And Mona says, because they wanted the best. And when he wasn't available, they got Angela.
I know, but Angela at first was like, oh, that's nice.
Of course,
and then
I
she's
know.
like, oh, I should have known better.
Now,
Why do I keep falling for this?
That whole joke is pretty tired at this point.
I know, it is.
It wasn't back then because it's the 80s, but like, you know, when you hear that joke now, it's like a little wah-wah. But also, like, Mona's a funny television character, but she would be such a terrible mother to have in real life.
Never nice.
But most sitcom characters would really be terrible people in real life.
That's
because they have to be, you know...
Yeah, that's true.
The sarcasm and the insults are funny when you see it on TV. So, yeah, so Mona completely insults her.
Then we move on.
And Tony says, you know, what you're doing is really important. And it's an adult education class. So it's not going to be like the regular college kids in this class. And he seems pretty excited about it. So, my mouse freaked out. And now I lost my spot again. Hang on. Okay, I found it. And Mona looks at the catalog and she's like, yeah, here's an important class, Intro to Origami.
I know. This... I think we talked about this. I didn't understand this joke. Anyway, go ahead.
Then Jonathan says, what's origami? And she says, not as much fun as it sounds. But yeah, the only thing I can think is that it kind of sounds like the word orgasm.
I know, that's so...
It's kind of a dumb joke.
It's so Mona, but if that's what they're going for, why would you say that to a child anyway? Not as fun as it sounds like he knows.
Right, exactly.
So otherwise the joke makes no sense.
Yeah, but it's a joke for the adults out there,
right?
I
But
guess,
like,
to get.
not as I get it. Yeah, I guess.
So
Maybe
even
I'm
though
reading
she's saying it
too much,
even though she's saying it to the kid, she's
Right.
not expecting that he's going to get the joke.
True. Okay.
But then the origami comes back in later. But yes, it is so Mona just to hear the word origami and think of orgasm, and that's where her
That
mind
would
goes.
make the most sense.
So the night of Angela's first class, she's going over like well-known ads and slogans. I think she does the double mint or the two mints, two mints in one.
2 mints in one, 2 mints in one, whatever.
And she asked the class, like, what do all these slogans have in common? And the one guy's like, they're annoying. And she's like, yes, but you remember them. Like, they get stuck in your head. So she starts taking roll call. And I noticed that a lot of the names we hear here are writers on the show.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
So she calls out Bradley Guylis, and she says his name incorrectly at first. She's saying like Gaylis or something, but later in the episode she does pronounce it Guylis. And she asks him, am I saying your name wrong? And he's like, yes, but I like it better the way you say it. So Bradley Guylis...
See, at first I thought this guy was kissing up to her, but maybe... Or at first I thought he was hitting on her, but maybe he was just kissing up to her.
Yeah, I think he's just kissing up to her.
Okay.
And so Guylis is the writer Ellen Guylis. And then she calls out Tony's name. And he comes in. She gets a little flustered. So then she quickly goes through the rest of the roll call. And I think it's like Singer something and Steinkellner. And Steinkellner is also Bill Steinkellner and Sherry Eichen, who later became... Sherry Steinkellner, so that's also a writer's name. So I think it's cute when they do that. Like when you just have characters, you need a name, and they use people's names on the crew. Now, the other interesting thing is that Bradley on IMDb is not listed as Bradley Guylis. He's just listed as Bradley. So I don't know if they just added the names in like on the fly, or if they were actually written into the scripts. So... Like maybe the actors just decided to give,
I see what you're saying.
Or on the set, the director was like, let's give them the last name, and then they picked the names, as opposed to the writers actually putting their own names in the scripts.
That's true.
Okay, so when she gets to Tony's name, she's like a little flustered that he's there. She's like, Tony? And then he comes in.
Right, so he makes an entrance as his name is called.
Of course.
Hey, teach.
And he's late. And he's doing his usual, like, he's acting very familiar with her right off the bat. He's joking around.
He brought an apple.
Yeah, he brought an apple for her. Angela's, like, kind of thrown off balance. And the students in the class are already like, okay, this guy's a suck-up. So Angela's like, what are you doing here? I'm teaching a class. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to take it. And she's like, why? And he said, well, I've been living with you for about 1.5 years now.
Right,
and the students hear that.
That's like easy A.
Right. So easy A. And he's like, I just want to know. He's like, you know what I do. Not that you could do it. But I don't really know enough about what you do. So he's kind of curious to know about what she does.
It's interesting that he is taking such an interest in her job.
Yeah.
But I guess that leads to...
Well... I think, a couple things. Like, he's always been pretty interested in what Angela does for a living. I think...
That's true. He gets excited when they visit the office or...
Right.
Whatever.
And, like, he likes to help her out. Like, they show him kind of, like, getting involved with her different campaigns and, like, wanting to give input. But also, I think this is showing a bit of his interest in learning, because that's going to play in later in the series. And I think he just kind of has a crush on her at this point, so he just wants to know as much about her as he possibly can. So he tells her, she's like, I just don't really think that this is going to be a good idea. It's probably going to be awkward. And he's like, no, I don't feel awkward. And he says, I matriculated in everything, or I even matriculated. And I never really knew what that word meant.
No, I don't.
But so I looked it up, and it just means to actually be, like, he got admitted to the college. Like, he signed up for the class and has been admitted to.
How would he know that word? No offense against Tony.
Maybe he found it out when he was in the admissions office.
Oh, probably.
But it's got to be an old word, because I don't remember ever hearing that word when I went to college. So it must be just like an old word.
Yeah, probably. Maybe it was more common.
Or we're dumb, and everybody else knows that word. And right now they're yelling at their phone.
Like
or car or
my Ryan Gosling moment a few episodes back.
Yes. So she agrees to let him stay, And she's like, okay, well, no special treatment. He's like, I don't want any special treatment, except on Tuesday I may be late because I have to do the drapes.
Right, the drapes.
Can you take notes for me?
You can't be in class. Those drapes, like, it's out of control how dirty the drapes are. They got to be done.
Okay, yeah, so that's the other thing. This is not the first time they've mentioned doing the drapes. And so, like, are people across the country just, like, doing drapes and we're disgusting? Because...
I don't do my drapes.
No, I don't.
Are the drapes the curtains over there? Are those the drapes?
Yeah, and now we just call them curtains. Yeah.
Well, they're curtains.
Yeah.
Not drapes.
And we only have them in the dining room and in our bedroom.
And I don't do them.
No, I do nothing.
I don't know
with
what
them.
that means to do
I
them.
open them and then I close them. If something were to get on them, then I guess we'd take them down and put them in the wash. But, like, should we be dusting? Should we be taking them outside and, like, beating them, dusting?
No, you can't beat them. They're thin. Those aren't, like... What am I beating? I'm out in the front yard beating my curtains.
Should we be holding a vacuum cleaner up vertically and vacuuming them? Like,
no, I think that's a joke.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, that was a joke. But also, her drapes were, like, super thick. But,
right. These are... we have thin... If you vacuum these drapes, it's going to suck them right in.
Right.
I'm going to stop calling them drapes. I'm not comfortable with it. So, do we want to talk about the people in the scene?
Oh, yes. Okay, I should do that here.
I mean, the only one is that Lawrence Manley.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
and I just know him from Seinfeld. He's in like 6 episodes of Seinfeld.
Yeah, so the first name she calls out, William Abbott, who I couldn't find anyone associated with the show with the last name Abbott, so I don't know where they got that name from. But he is played by Lawrence Manley.
Right.
And he's still working.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Shameless.
He was. He was in an episode of Shameless. Again, I still need to know, or I need to go back and watch and see who Julia played, and I haven't checked out who he played. But yeah, he's a character actor. Lots of credits.
Oh, yeah. Mad About You, Sister.
So
he was in a lot of The Nanny. Did you notice that?
Oh, I didn't.
No, he's in, well, I say a lot. 6 episodes, maybe.
That's a decent amount.
5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, 6 episodes of Seinfeld, too.
That I really remember him because, but you know me in Seinfeld.
Right.
He's Larry the cook, but also becomes Larry the manager. And
at the diner that they hang out at?
At the diner.
Okay.
At the diner that the Seinfeld, that they hang out in. And he, one of the notable episodes that I can think of off the top of my head is the episode where the episode entitled The Wife, where Courtney Cox is in it. And they come in and he gets angry that Jerry brings in outside syrup from... He says he's like, no outside syrup allowed. Like, a lot of people could probably picture who he is if they watch Seinfeld.
That's funny.
Yeah, then you'll see it. Anyway.
And then the other guy, so Bradley Guylis, is played by Larry Cedar. Mm-hmm. Also still acting today. Probably most well known for Deadwood. We didn't watch that show, but he played Leon on Deadwood. Was in a couple episodes of Community.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Again, lots of credits.
Oh,
so
yeah, good. You're constantly working. Most of these people, they don't ever do anything else.
I know, yeah. This episode, both of these guys
great.
In this class. The other people in the classroom, I couldn't find anything on them. I don't even think their names are listed except for Karen, maybe, but I couldn't even figure out which one was Karen because she never spoke. So, yeah. Okay, so now let's get to where Angela says that she's going to introduce herself. She's like, now I know all of your names. It's time for you to know my name. And the one thing I noticed about Angela here is this seems more like work Angela than what we see at home. Like, she seems very confident.
For sure.
She's good. She's comfortable speaking in front of everyone. Doesn't seem to have that same, like, kind of awkward, insecure gawkiness to her that she has, in social situations or outside of work. So she goes over to the board and she lifts up the map to show her name. And it says Angela Bauer.
I just love that the map is down. Like, it's not even a history class.
Well, she just wanted that big reveal, I think.
I think you're right.
Maybe she's been dreaming about that moment. Like, now, I don't even think... I mean, they don't even have those things in classrooms. Oops. Except for maybe projector screens that would come down. But yeah, so, and did Angela write this? Because it's...
Yeah, I mean, we went on and on about
We
this
did.
after we watched the episode.
It's like a large A, a smaller N, a large G, and then the whole name is in quotes, which I don't know why, because that's actually
Like,
her name.
Is it her saying the name? But yeah, it's just like, I don't like, it looks like a child wrote it. It's like you're right, capital A, capital N, capital G.
I mean, they're all G,
then,
but some of them are just smaller.
But like everything's, everything is uppercase, but then the E is way smaller than the G.
Right.
And then the L is huge, and the A... I don't
So we're
understand
going to
what's
come back
going
to
on.
this later in the episode because it's going to happen again in a different way.
Right, that's right. But
Okay.
it's like terrible. Like, who writes their name like that?
Angela Bauer.
I feel like a props person did
Quote
this to mess with
unquote
her. or
Angela
something.
Bauer. Yeah, like it had to have just been a crew member that wrote this on the board. And they didn't have like the art director do it or anything. They just had some
terrible.
random person write the name on the board. So Tony is already super excited for her. And he's sitting awkwardly close to Bradley. And he's like, isn't she great? So now the next morning over breakfast.
Yeah, but Bradley moved up there from the back.
He did.
But I don't know
But
how
yeah,
the desk,
how
the desks got pinned against each other.
Their
is beyond
shoulders
me.
are touching.
That's true, yeah.
And there's like plenty
Bizarre.
of room between everyone else. So the two of them are going to be trouble. So the next morning, over breakfast, Tony is gushing over how wonderful Angela was as a teacher. He's telling them all the things that she taught him, and none of them are as excited, but they're kind of humoring him. He gets them all when she walks in the kitchen door to say, "Good morning, Miss Bauer." So he starts like showing off what he's learned. He's holding up a cereal box and doing a little ad for Fiber Puffs.
Fiber Puffs.
And he's.
By the way, there's no such thing as Fiber Puffs. Don't look it up.
Did you really look that
Yeah,
up?
why not? I
That's
mean,
funny.
the box looks so terrible. I should have known.
I know. Like, I'm surprised that this isn't Crunchy Crawlers.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Like Crunchy Crawler, but I guess it's a cereal that he's feeding the family, so he wouldn't feed them Crunchy Crawlers.
No,
so it had to be
everybody's
Fiber
getting
Puffs.
Fiber Puffs. They gotta eat healthy.
Fiber Puffs make me think of grape nuts, which I love,
Oh,
or Fiber One,
but
which
grape
I
nuts
also
are
love.
neither. Grape nuts aren't puffy.
They're not nuts or grapes or puffy, but
They're
they're,
not puffy.
delicious.
They're the opposite of puffy. Why would?
Yeah, they're little hard rocks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
No,
Ruin
and the
your
milk.
teeth.
No, the milk makes them a little soft, and they're wonderful. Okay, so he's kind of showing off all the stuff that he's learned, and he's like, one class, and I know it all. And Angela's like, no, maybe not all.
Yeah, let's not get carried away. Here.
Right. So there's a little foreshadowing there. And Jonathan, he's eating the Fiber Puffs, and he says that he doesn't like them. And Mona's like, yeah, that's why we have commercials, to make you think that you like things that you really don't. And he says, we also have them so that we have time to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Just destroying Angela and everything she does.
But kids have no idea what that means now.
Right.
Like, our kids have never...
And when our kids see commercials, if we happen to be watching something, it's the look of confusion.
Well...
Like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. I mean, they don't... So the only experience they have with commercials are mostly on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. And they can usually skip through them pretty quickly. Kids just don't really have that experience of watching TV and then
No.
sitting and waiting for a commercial and then watching more of it. And if you need to go to the bathroom, you just hit pause.
Right.
And then
all the time, no
Right.
matter what you're watching.
So, yeah, that's interesting. So Angela asked Tony if he has his idea yet for his assignment. And Samantha's like, oh, homework on the first day? And Mona says his teacher must be a real battle axe. That's going to come back later.
I know, which I looked up battle axe, but it really doesn't, there's nothing that, it doesn't go any further than the actual weapon.
Right.
The
yeah,
battle
I guess-
axe. Doesn't say, I don't know, it's weird. I mean,
I guess
I've heard it before referred to.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I guess it's just, I don't know, somebody severe wielding a weapon.
I guess wielding a battle axe.
And Angela explains that she's having every student come up with their own commercial for a laundry detergent. And Tony says he has a great idea. And Angela's like, oh, great, I really want to hear, so, maybe I can give you some pointers. And he's like, no, I've got it. I'm good. He's very confident in his idea.
Very Tony.
And she says, other students have come to me with their plans. And he's like, nope. So the next day, or it's at some point later, Tony and Sam are both in the living room working on their homework. And he's like, oh, isn't this cute? The two of us are doing homework together.
Yeah, he just thinks it's great.
Yeah. And the video camera on the table says Southport University, although it looks suspiciously like the video camera that he was using to record Mona's graduation. But maybe he borrowed that one from Southport University also. I don't know. I guess I just assumed that Angela had a video camera. And what I like here is if you look in the background, so when Tony and Sam are talking on the couch, if you look in the background, you can see Judith, the shadow of Judith's feet underneath the door, waiting for her cue to come in.
I know. It's so bad. Like, stand off a little bit.
Yeah, and it is funny because you think, oh, sitcom sets don't have any weather stripping or like a threshold there.
No, nothing.
They could probably just put a little threshold or something and then you wouldn't see it. But yeah, I thought that was funny. So she comes in and she's very excited to tell Tony that his teacher sold a $20 million campaign in 20 minutes.
Yep.
And Tony's impressed. He's like, wow, that's
$1 million a minute.
Yeah, $1 million a minute.
$1 a minute.
She says, of all the people in the room, I'm the one that came up with the winning idea. So he wants to see it, and she shows it to him, and he's not very impressed. He's like, oh, really? And she's like, what are you talking about? It's bold, it's dynamic, it's innovative. And he's like, yeah, it's just not bold or as dynamic or as innovative as my idea is. So now he's really getting full of himself here.
I know.
And Angela's like, okay, well, I'm excited to see it. Let me see it. And he still won't let Angela see the storyboards. So as Mona comes in, Angela's saying, come on, I showed you mine. Why won't you show me yours?
Classic.
I know, of course.
Very Mona moment.
And Mona says, are you still playing that game? And then she asks if she can be the nurse.
I know, which then it all of a sudden gets weird.
Yeah.
Gets awkward.
So Tony tells her to get out of there. So Angela has already shown Tony hers, but he has not yet.
That's a good point.
Shown her his.
Let's go all the way back to season 1.
Yeah, episode 2.
I almost said episode 3. I don't know.
Angela's upset that all the other students have asked for her advice except for him. And, she's kind of getting annoyed that he's so confident and he's very sure he's going to get an A. So now the night of class.
Hang on, before we move on, you notice how high Angela's collar is in this?
Oh, yeah. And
it is popped up.
And if you notice, the jacket, it's like the negative of the shirt. So the
shirt's white.
is white with the gray lines.
And the jacket's black with gray lines.
Darker gray.
Oh,
with
yeah, now
gray.
I'm really confused.
Yeah. And yes, but that collar is popped and it is high.
What is that thing called on her?
A brooch.
Brooch. Thank you. Gosh, I couldn't think of the word.
Yes, it's pretty impressive. I like Tony's sweater though.
Yeah.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the night of class, Bradley Guyless goes first. And so he shows his commercial, and he even gives like a nod to Angela when he says, as I discussed with Miss Bauer. So he went to Angela for advice. She gave her input on this.
Right.
He said that he wanted to find a strong spokesperson, and he thinks he did it. So he puts this commercial, it's a VHS tape that he inserts into a VCR. And this little tube TV starts playing. And it's him dressed as Princess Diana selling a laundry detergent called Buckingham Soap. And so he does like the little princess wave and everything. So everyone is laughing. And, like, they're not laughing at him as much as they think they're laughing along with the commercial.
Right.
Including Angela. So when his commercial is done, she's like, that was such a wonderful example of humor in advertising. And he's like, oh, it wasn't supposed to be funny.
But even if you look at, like, the production value of his commercial, he's got a slow zoom going on.
Right.
The sound is good. Like,
yeah.
Which will bring us to Tony's. But I'm just saying, like, it's almost like a production company shot it, and yet it was supposed to be these people with a video camera.
Right. Yeah, so you have to think, like, this is an adult education class. So they were able to check out a video camera. That one, there wasn't much editing, so whatever. But yes,
right,
like,
but
you have
still
to think
slow zoom,
right?
Good
like
audio,
yeah. And I guess maybe there was a facility that you could do this. I mean, I went to college in the 90s, and I was in a television radio program, and we had to, like, edit on, like, these old 3/4 inch tapes. It was...
Yeah, I remember 3/4 inch. I was working in the industry when there was 3/4 inch tape.
Yeah. So, like, it just wasn't quite as easy for students to be able to just go in. It's not like now where you could just edit something real quick on your iPhone and turn it in. Mm-hmm. So now it's Tony's turn. And he gets up there with so much pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, confidence.
Yes. He is so sure of himself, and he's going on and on about how everyone's going to love it. It's going to be an A. And finally, Angela's like, well, you just play the damn tape.
I know. He's telling somebody they need to move up. They need a front row seat.
Yeah. If you can't see, yeah. So now he puts his tape into the VCR. And Angela
puts her glasses on. They're very intense.
I have that in my notes. Angela puts her glasses on to see this.
I know, because
So the commercial is two women who are mud wrestling. And the one lady is like, in my job, you really need to find the right detergent. Yeah. So
and she goes down, and you don't. It's a tight shot of her face. You don't know what she's talking about.
Right,
she just immediately goes down. Like, what just happened? Right. They go a wide shot, and here we are in a pool, if you will, of mud.
It's kind of okay. So remember the scene in Old School where they were wrestling in the KY jelly?
Yeah.
It's that, but with mud. And so these men
are very similar to that scene in Old School.
Yeah.
But with mud.
So these men are, like, all around, and the two girls are in just bikinis, and they're wrestling around in mud. And the one goes on about how, with Bouncy Flakes, which is the name of the laundry detergent.
Bouncy Flakes.
She can get her dainties clean. Mm. And she's, at the end, Tony's voice comes on, and it says, give your laundry a thrill. And then one of the pieces of a bikini top or bottom comes flying off and lands on the Bouncy Flakes box.
Which apparently the logo on the box of Bouncy Flakes is in 3D. Like, why? The letters are, like, sticking off of it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's Tony's dream.
It's like his
vision.
They're bouncy.
I suppose.
They're bouncy right on the box.
But again, like, going back to the production value on that commercial is impressive.
Yeah, it is.
How would he shoot that with that crappy video camera?
Right. He had
there's a tight shot of her face. Then there's a wide shot of the whole. I don't know, what is that? A mud wrestling
pool? I don't know.
The pit.
Yeah.
Pit's a better word for it. And then and then there's tight shots of her with the. You would think with a. I don't know. I guess I have to let that go. I got to get past it.
He probably had a tripod, but
still,
he would have had to get someone to edit this for him, or he needed to know how to edit it. But whatever, it's TV.
Yeah, right. Like I said, I have to get past it.
Yeah, I mean, but now you think about that for, like, kids who are in college, you could whip up a little commercial like this in your backyard with your phone.
That's true. Yep.
An iMovie.
Yep.
And
now, yes, then a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not that. Now. Okay. So when the commercial is over, the whole class is cheering. They're clapping. Tony's feeling real good about himself, and he says, I have to also thank Gritty Gertie and Jungle Jane.
Of course.
Now, everyone is cheering except for Angela. If she had been wearing pearls, she would literally have been clutching them. Her hand is up by her throat. She looks like she might throw up.
She'd seen enough.
Yeah. And he says, and don't forget my inspiration, Mrs. Bauer.
Which she wants no credit for.
Right. Yeah. And she's like, I inspired that? So he's pretty sure he's going to get an A, and he's pushing Angela to tell him how he did. And Angela's just like in panic mode at this point and does not want to talk to Tony about this at all.
No.
And she's like, I just need time to process this, and we'll discuss it later. But he keeps pushing her, and she's like, it was graphic, and then he's getting the class to chant A. And finally she just loses it, and she says, that was the most offensive commercial I have ever seen, and it's an F.
Yeah, well, it's like, whoa.
So they come home, and they're yelling at each other as soon as they walk in the door. And if you look in the top left-hand corner as they come in the door, you can see almost an entire boom mic. Like, not even
that was a bad
the tip. Like, the entire microphone is sticking up in the corner. But also, back then, when we used to... TVs had the rounded corners, as we just saw, when they were showing their VHS commercials. So you probably wouldn't have seen that at all because of the rounded edges. But now that we don't have those anymore, yeah, you can see the whole mic.
Actually, when going back a little bit, when Tony was working on a storyboard, if you look closely, he had 4 screens on the storyboard, and they're all rounded on the edges, like normal TVs back
curved.
then.
That's
so you're
true.
right. You probably wouldn't have seen the... Most of the time when we see a boom mic, there's no way we would have seen it back then.
Right. So they come in, they're yelling at each other. Mona's sitting with the kids in the living room playing Clue, so they're hearing all this. And Tony says that Angela is jealous. And she says, why did you even bother signing up for this class? You obviously already know everything. And she's like, you don't even want to know what's wrong with it. So he calls her Miss Madison Avenue Big Shot.
Yeah.
And she says, and he says that she's the only person who knows anything about anything. They're yelling. She says his commercial won't sell one bouncy flake.
One bouncy flake.
And then Mona just says, so how was class?
And I feel like bouncy flakes would be like a cereal more than it would be a detergent, but what do I know?
Yeah, true.
Just by the name. Yeah,
but I guess I feel like the name went along with the bounciness of the Mud Wrestlers.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. And then you could even go a little deeper and make an insult to the women. Like bouncy flakes. Like if someone were to call a woman a flake.
I see. Yeah, I see.
I don't know that that's what he was doing, but that could be tied to that.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep.
So
it is.
So she says, you brought this on yourself because you didn't ask for my help. And he's like, that's why you're mad. You're mad because I didn't ask for your help and my commercial was good. And she's like, your commercial wasn't good. It stank.
Oh, wow.
And Sam's like, ooh, you got it, Dad, you got an F? And she's like, you're grounded for a week. And Jonathan says, yeah.
I know, it's awesome.
But if you're cute, you can get off in 3 days.
I know, it's so funny.
So then Tony tells the kids go to bed. And they're like, it's only 8 o'clock. And he says, yes, but it's 10 o'clock on the moon.
Right.
So, first of all, I want to say, those kids go to bed at 10 o'clock? That's got to suck for them.
I know.
I mean, I know...
Suck for the adults.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I know Samantha's like 13 now, but Jonathan's still like in the 3rd grade. But, yeah, get those kids to bed by 9. Hang out.
Know.
So, and then the other thing is, that has to be a reference to the honeymooners, right?
I was wondering if we were going to discuss that.
Yeah.
Yes, the moon reference.
Right, to the moon, which no child, but like as a kid, we would have probably known what that meant, because I didn't necessarily watch The Honeymooners, but I knew of The Honeymooners, and I definitely knew that line.
I watched it only because my father loved The Honeymooners.
Right.
So we used to watch it, so I would have known that reference.
Yeah, but that's something that kids now would not know at all.
No.
And Angela says, okay, it wasn't a good idea for you to attend the class, and she'll talk to the school about reimbursing him. And that's when we get the away.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not dropping the class. And he says, I may be a failure, but I am not a quitter. So he is mad. He leaves and goes in the kitchen. And then Mona says something shitty here, I thought.
I know.
She says, oh, you shouldn't have failed him. Now he'll never get into grad school. But it's like, I don't know. She's just kind of putting him down. I mean, we know that Tony didn't go to college. We get it. And now she's putting him down like, oh, he's not going to be able to get into grad school because you're going to fail him on this one adult education class. But it's good to know at least that Mona's meanness goes around to everyone once in a while.
There's no,
and not
she doesn't discriminate.
Right, not just Angela. Angela's her favorite, but others get nailed too. So Angela's like, he was impossible. He disrupted the class. And he showed the most offensive commercial that I've ever seen. And then he strutted around like he was Francis Ford Coppola, whom I didn't look up, but we just know he's a director,
all know who
right?
he is.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was Coppola, but what do I know?
Yeah, I honestly don't know either. And Mona's like, oh, so you're saying that Tony was overconfident? Like, big surprise there. Like, that is Tony.
Right.
And Angela says she tried to tell him gently what was wrong with the commercial. But Mona's immediately on Tony's side. And she's like, you tore his work apart and humiliated him in front of the class and shattered his ego. But honestly, Tony did push her. Like, Angela didn't want to get into that with him in the moment. But he was just, he was pushing her to tell him that he was going to get an A.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So he kind of brought that upon himself as far as getting humiliated in front of the class.
Right, and just the fact that, like, the dialogue between the two of them here is like, Mona's like, he wanted to impress you, and you know what I mean? And it was almost like Tony's a child.
Right, yes.
It's so weird. Like, what? He just wanted to impress you and show you what he, you know what I mean? It was
right. Yeah. So
she's not a child, not like a 10-year-old child. Like, it's a grown man.
Right. I agree. But yeah, so Angela says, he should have been able to take constructive criticism. That's why he was taking the class. And Mona says, no, he's taking the class because of you. Like, he wanted to impress you, yeah. And he wanted to make you proud.
Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead there.
Oh, no, it's fine. And she, he worked very hard on the project. And Angela admits that there were some good things about it.
Right.
And she's like, well, did you tell him that? And she says no. And she said, it just makes me so mad because he wouldn't listen. And she doesn't know how she's going to get through to him. And then Mona's like, well, you're the teacher. Hit him with a ruler.
Okay. What?
But she says he's just another student. And Angela's like, no, he's not. He's Tony. And I expected more than him. More from him.
Women.
Right. And so here I think, like, I think part of the reason why Angela was so upset about the commercial is not just that Tony made that commercial, but I think it's another one of those things where she's like, oh, I really don't know him at all. Because he didn't think that this was degrading to women. But this is not the first time he's brought up mud wrestling.
I know. It's been brought up several times.
Right. But I think maybe seeing it made it be like, oh, this guy like goes and watches mud wrestling.
Tony's way into mud wrestling.
Like,
it's so bizarre.
He probably knows Gritty Gurdy and Jungle Jane.
Yeah.
And
sees him in the mud wrestling pit.
Right.
And whatever the ring is. I don't know what it's called.
So again, she's like, this guy that I think is so sensitive and, so great, and that she probably has a bit of a crush on at this point also, is doesn't treat women the way that, or she thinks he's not treating women the way that she thinks that women should be treated. Like, I have a feeling if you're in a relationship with Angela, like, you're not even, there's no dirty magazines even in the house or anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, that's not going to fly with her. So I think that's probably part of the deeper reason why she had such a visceral reaction to it, not just to do with the class. So she tells her mother, like, as she's going through again, like, you know, I expected more than half-naked women covered in mud, degrading themselves. She's getting angry again, and she says it was offensive and disgusting. It deserved an F. It deserved lower than an F. It deserved a G.
A G.
And Tony comes back out from the kitchen and says, well, Princess Diana liked it.
Princess Di liked it. Yeah, great.
So now in the next class, Angela brings in a man named Jeremy Eichen. Mm-hmm. And again, Eichen would be Sherry Eichen, who was the wife of Bill Steinkellner and also a writer. We've had another episode with that, the two of them written.
Oh, okay.
So now her last name is Sherry Steinkellner, and they were married when they worked on Who's the Boss together, but she went by her maiden name of Sherry Eichen. So that's where I'm guessing that they got that name from.
Oh, interesting.
She introduces, the actor is Brad O'Hare, and he didn't have a lot of credits. He started working in 1985. Who's the Boss was the second television credit he has. And then it seems like he, did a few other, like, small parts. Mm-hmm. And he was in Guiding Light. But he died in 1994 at the age of 43 of AIDS. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, very young. So he is playing the character Jeremy Eichen, who is a vice president in charge of advertising at Sunshine Laundry Detergent. And she said that he was nice enough to view all the commercials, and now he's going to give, like, his honest, objective opinion about them.
Interesting.
So as Angela is introducing Jeremy, Tony throws an airplane, a paper airplane.
Of course he does. Like, immediately goes back to his childhood. Right.
So now he's just... And so Tony must be pretty secure in his job at this point to think that he's not going to get fired for causing trouble with his boss as she's trying to teach a class.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So Jeremy takes over and he says, I'm happy to be here and that this woman is wonderful and she could sell cold water detergent to Eskimos.
I know, which is a stretch.
But yeah, because wouldn't Eskimos only have cold water? So wouldn't they need cold water detergent?
Right.
Like I could see. I was very confused by that.
It's like when you say you can sell fire in hell.
Right, or like ice to Eskimos or something.
Or water to a well. That's another one I've heard before.
But yeah.
You can sell water to a well, but cold water detergent to Eskimos, well, actually we need that.
Right.
We got a lot of laundry to do. We only have cold water. So, yeah, it's a bad example.
But Angela's she's eating it up. Like she's, oh, Jeremy, thank you.
Right. Even though it makes no sense.
So he goes over, he asks the class, like, do you know the 5 rules of advertising? And they're like, ooh, yes. And he's like, forget them. So he walks over to the board and writes something on it. And he lifts up the map again. And now, instead of Angela Bauer, it says Battle Axe Bauer. And it has a picture of what I'm assuming is supposed to be Angela, with glasses and everything. She has curlier hair than we see.
Why don't you do the hair fast? Leave him alone.
But here's the thing. That handwriting is the same person who wrote Angela Bauer.
Although the T's are lowercase.
There's no T in Angela Bauer. So we didn't see the T's before.
But I mean, everything was uppercase, whether it was smaller or bigger. But here, Battle Axe in battle, the T's are lowercase.
They are, but look at the L compared to the E, and then
No,
the
I'm just
B in
saying,
Bauer.
though, it's for
Yeah.
the sake of argument, I guess. I don't.
But yeah, so you would think that they would have been like, oh, maybe we should have a different crew person write
Right.
Battle Axe Bauer so that it doesn't look like Angela
it's
wrote
still,
this about herself.
but it's still mostly uppercase, but written smaller.
Right.
And in quotes. You're right. like
right,
you
and
said.
it's still in quotes.
Yeah.
So, although the quotes here might work a little better because
Right,
she's
'cause
not
it's
really
like
Battle Axe
that,
Bauer.
right.
But not so much on her actual name. Anyway, I don't know why I thought that was funny.
And then it comes back down the state map.
Yeah. So yeah,
United States
Angela
map.
pulls it back down, and the Jeremy Eichen thinks it's pretty funny too that somebody did that. So he says, "You can forget about the 5 rules of advertising. I only go by one rule of advertising, and that's my gut." And he says, "And my gut says that some of these commercials stank." And Tony's like, "Oh crap!" And then
Because he talks about, yeah.
yeah, because he hears the word stank and he figures that means his, since that's
Right.
the word that Angela used. Now, Angela, I think, gets a little nervous that Jeremy's also going to lay into Tony. And she kind of starts to, she tells him, she's trying
First
to get
she's like,
Jeremy,
"Oh, no."
go easy. Yeah, I think she's almost trying to, stop it so that Tony isn't embarrassed further. But, and this guy has a super creepy laugh, which happens a couple of times in this.
I know it does.
But instead, he rips up Bradley's Princess Diana commercial. And so then Tony's starting to feel better about himself, and he tells Bradley, "You should have taken the origami class." So now that's the origami callback from the beginning. And then Jeremy goes on to say, "And one of you had the audacity to put half-naked women in mud." And now Angela's really getting nervous.
Right. She's like, oh, no, go easy.
Right. Yeah. And he says, "And it's that kind of audacity that sells soap." And Tony's like, "What?"
He's floored.
Yeah. And he's like, "It is?" And Angela says, "It is." And he says, "Where's Micelli?" And, he says, "Your Bouncy Flakes commercial had me in a lather."
Yeah.
And then he does the creepy laugh. And so Tony says to Angela, "See, he liked my commercial. He says it was imaginative. And, why? How come you gave me an F?" And Jeremy even seems surprised
He's like an F.
that he got an F. And Angela says he got an F because he forgot one important rule. She asks him if that commercial would make him buy soap. And he says yes, it would. And then she says to Jeremy, would that commercial make you buy soap? And Jeremy says, "Well, my wife actually does the shopping." And Angela's like, "Okay, well, that's interesting, because in my house, the pig-headed male housekeeper does the shopping." And then Jeremy's like, "You have a male housekeeper?" And Tony's like, "Watch it, pal." He's like, "Oh, no,
It's like
that's
very today.
Yeah, nice." So she says, if you forgot rule number 5, which is to know your audience. So if in most households the woman is buying laundry detergent, that commercial is not effective at all, because it's not going to necessarily make a woman want to buy laundry detergent. Maybe, I guess you can't say it wouldn't make all women not want to buy laundry detergent, but most women not want to buy laundry detergent. The majority of women would not want to buy laundry detergent.
Would not look at that mud wrestling commercial and want to go buy the laundry
Right.
detergent.
And so Tony's like, "Oh, that does mean that my commercial stank." So now he kind of gets it, and she says, "It wasn't the most offensive piece of junk that I've ever seen." And she's happy that he seems to have learned his lesson and understand that maybe he doesn't know everything. So they make up. They look really cute when they make up. And then she goes to sit down, and Tony tries to stop her because there's a whoopee cushion in her chair. Are whoopee cushions still around?
Are they still a thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, when they've advanced a little bit, they refill themselves after
Oh,
you.
really?
Yeah, you sit on it, it makes the flatulence sound. When you get up, they refill themselves. Wow. Yeah, they've come a long way, whoopee cushions.
Okay, let's not let our children find out that those exist.
Oh my gosh, especially the youngest.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so then in the tag, Angela's grading the commercials. She's got all her VHS tapes out. That's where she's writing the grade down. You think she watched them again? I don't know.
She had to have, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Keep watching them.
Tony comes in and he's got a tray of tea and cookies. And he's like, what are you doing? Oh, are you grading?
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the way he walks in, too. He's like trying to be real quiet.
Sneaky.
Yeah. And so she says that she's grading them. And he's like, any chance that you decided to change my grade? And she says yes, that she has decided that she's going to change his grade to a C. And he's not happy with that, though.
No.
But
it's Tony Micelli.
Right. She said, well, we did have a behavior problem.
I know.
Again, like Tony's a child. Yeah. And doesn't he even say, like, rats?
Yeah.
And so she says, like, okay, well, if I forget about the behavior problem and I just grade your commercial on the commercial, then you get a B. So he's happy. But she's like, we have to promise that you're not going to pull any more pranks. And he agrees. And then they go to shake hands on it. And Angela has one of those little hand zappers in her hand. And she shocks him.
Wah, wah.
Are those still a thing? I think our kids actually did have one of those.
It doesn't shock you. It just makes
it vibrates in your hand.
Right.
Yeah.
So silly.
Yep. And that's it. That is the episode. Okay, what was your rating for this?
I gave this one a solid 7.
Okay.
I thought it was good. It had its moments. The stuff in the classroom was funny.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, so. I just went 7.5.
Okay. A little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like we've been a half an AO off.
I know we are. We usually are.
For weeks. But yeah, I thought the Angela and Tony parts were funny. I thought they were saying more than what they were saying. Kind of, if you look at the subtext of what they were actually saying to each other. The classroom parts were kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite episode, but I did enjoy the Tony and Angela
Yeah,
parts.
for sure. It had its moments.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you!
So second week in a row, I'm going with Angela as the boss. Or second episode in a row. Because, she taught the class. She knew why Tony's commercial was not right the whole time. He wouldn't really let her tell him. But then when she does point it out to him, he gets it. So, yeah. She was being a boss in the classroom and a boss at work with her $20 million campaign. So, yeah, I went with Angela.
Okay. I could agree with that. No, I agree with that now that you've said it. Like, that makes sense. But I'm going to go with Mona again. Just because she has to talk.
True. She does.
She always seems to right the ship. Not always. Sometimes she's useless. But, she let Angela know that he was just, even though it didn't quite sink in with her when she was letting her know, Tony's just trying to see what you do or whatever, learn, when they had that conversation.
Right, that he's taking this class.
Right, and he was so proud
of
you, blah, blah, blah. So, and I don't know, maybe that resonated with Angela a little bit. Maybe it didn't in the end, but.
Right.
So I kind of went with Mona because I think she kept popping in and out and was trying to right the ship and make it,
right,
make things better.
Okay, but also, so talking about that would a guy want to take a class of some woman that he isn't interested in?
No.
Don't you think she should be getting a feeling at this point that he probably likes her more?
Right, and especially back then,
What do you mean?
Like meeting back then a guy taking a woman's class who's she's already his boss.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like, it's
so there's
great. I was like,
right,
oh my
right.
God. I mean,
Right.
I need to learn anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. What you're saying is that there has to be a hint of like maybe he's interested in her or.
Yeah, like either he really is, just because it's not like they were saying, oh, he always wants to learn more and he's really interested in advertising, which
Right.
he is, but like Mona's like, he took this because he wanted you to be proud of him. He wanted you to be impressed with his commercial. So yeah, you would think she has to start figuring out. I mean, she doesn't for a very long time, but
Right.
you would think that she would wonder why a guy would want to, spend his time taking your class.
Yeah, I mean, she was immediately shocked when she looked at his name on the roll call.
She was. And there are plenty of things that Tony does for Angela where you're like, how did you not figure out that he is into you? Like,
Right.
with just the fact that he's doing that. So, and I'm going to bring up every single one of them.
I'm sure you will. I don't doubt it.
Okay, so you can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram, Who's the Boss Pod 1 on Twitter, the Who's the Boss Podcast page on Facebook, or go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast, and there you can leave a voice message. And we need songs. So if if you know it, our kids, the one kid's trying to learn guitar right now so she can play a song.
I know, so she could play the theme song. Because that's what we're down to.
Yeah, we're down to
we
our
got
kids.
Nothing.
Right. I at some point our kids are going to do the karaoke version because I just think that would be funny.
Yeah, it would be.
But yeah, so if you know it, or if you've come across any ones that we haven't played yet, please send them our way.
Yes, please.
And then next time, we are going to do episode 15.
15.
Yeah. Called
Season
Gotta
2.
Dance.
Yeah.
And it's now this is an episode that I really remember as a kid because it was all about Samantha and it was her going to ballet class. And I think I may have even wanted to take ballet class after I saw this.
No, really?
Yeah, which was not a good idea and it didn't last long, but
No, but
but there are some definite interesting storylines in here that we'll discuss that I don't think would fly today. So, all right. Bye.
bye. Thank you.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and tell all your friends and give you a big pat on the back. Bye. I added some extra.